Welcome to Pub Natter, where we record each episode in a different pub in Rutland, the smallest county in England. In each episode, your hosts, Tim and Justin, give a voice to the landlords and landladies and a special guest with a specific area of interest or expertise. We hope you enjoy our chats, and it encourages you to go and explore our little county and all it has to offer. Like the motto says, there is much in little. We're back in Ketton, and we're at the Bakers Dozen Brewery. On my left is Justin, co-presenter, and our special guest is Dean Baker, the hip hopper from Ketton, who runs and manages the brewery with his wife. Would you just kind of like start off by telling us a bit about your background? Like, where were you born?
Okay. So originally, I'm from the Nottingham area. Jill is kind of Stamford, born and bred, and Rutland. So she grew up around this area, school and everything. She went to university in Nottingham. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Nottingham, moved to Stamford.
So you're not a Forest supporter?
No.
County?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Good for you. Good. So, and then you went into, you got a job presumably after university?
I didn't go to university. I left school with basically no qualifications.
We're meeting a lot of very successful people who didn't go to university since we've been doing this.
Okay.
I would say the vast majority of people that were successful didn't go to university.
Yeah, I don't know about successful, but my parents ran a couple of pubs in Stamford.
Right. Which ones?
The Northfields, which is no longer there, it's now a shop. And the Drum and Monkey, which is no longer there, is now houses. They had a pub in Nottingham, which is called the Queen Hotel on Alfreton Road, which is no longer there.
It's a continuing story.
It's a shop, and it's like the sort of the curse of the Baker family. I think so. When they move on from their pubs, it sort of goes to rack and ruin. It's
I mean, it's a curse of pubs in UK generally because there's way less pubs than there used to be, and it's a declining thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our first podcast was actually in Ketton, and we discovered that there used to be 14 pubs in the village.
Yeah.
And there's now one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the UK as a whole, it would have been amazing, wouldn't it, to be around 100 years ago?
Yeah.
Pub crawls.
I noticed the old ploughs up for sale in Braunston yesterday as I came through there.
Ah, that's another one.
With planning permission to turn it into housing.
Yeah. And my local in Oakham used to be the Odd House, which was bought by Oakham School. So anyway, we digress. This normally happens.
But so we met up. We were both kind of in jobs that we didn't particularly enjoy at that time. And so we were kind of just chatting, wondering what to do. And we ended up kind of getting together and doing some pub relief management for like through an agency, and it was mainly doing Sam Smith's pubs. Mm-hmm. So we were mainly working up kind of Yorkshire area, and it's kind of all over really. Just running pubs here and there for like a week, couple of weeks, living out of a suitcase. It was fine. Well, we did it for about a year, and it was okay. And you kind of learn a lot of lessons of, how not to run a pub, and see what a mess people are making of it for something that ultimately is quite. I've always thought it was quite a straightforward, simple job. You look after your beer, you look after your customers, smile, be nice. It's it's not rocket science. And then the Jolly Brewer pub in Stamford was up for sale. So we went and had a look at it. Thought it was a good opportunity. It was kind of the place was on its arse. It was a right state. It was awful. No customers. It was. I think the barrelage was about 50 barrels a year, something like that. Which I think they were being generous. And it was just, it was truly awful.
So what's a good number for a pub?
We were doing about 450
Right.
Which for us was great. It's a tied pub as well, so we weren't a free house. We had to buy beer through the pub code.
The barrel's 288 pints.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're talking about 40 pints a day at a barrel a week, which is not much.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to keep a pub sustained, is it?
No.
That'd be me and you.
Yeah, so we took this pub on. There's only one way for it to go up. One way for it to go, which was up. And yeah, we stayed there for 16 years in total. And yeah, built a good business. Yeah, despite it being tied, there was an option to get in local independent beers from local breweries. It was a really expensive thing to do, but we did it because we thought it was worth it. There's some great local breweries around, and so we wanted to get their beers in to sell.
So at the time, what were your favourite beers that you were drinking? Or getting into the pub?
Anything from Oakham Ales, they could, and in my opinion, still can do no wrong. Love Oakham Ales. Anything from like Abbeydale Brewery in Yorkshire, they're incredible. And sort of, locally there was Hop Shackle Brewery, he's sold the brewery on to somebody else now, and Tid Steam over in Tid St Giles, Brewster's in Grantham. Sarah makes, she's a brilliant brewer, Brewster. And we built our business on just selling local beers. So we were fully tied, but when you walked into our pub, we didn't have the appearance of a tied pub. We were selling local beers at fairly reasonable prices, although lots of people would not agree with that. We smiled at customers. We were polite. We served them in order, in a timely fashion.
Even the little ones.
We didn't. Yeah, we didn't serve people with our hands around the tops of the glasses and things like that. And just trying to do things the right way.
Sure.
Be efficient, friendly. Really works for us. We built a great business.
So it was going so well, you decided to leave it?
I mean, basically, yeah. Just because it was all about the beer for us, and we did serve food, but it was a really small part of our business, and it was very much kind of beer driven. Just that kind of interest in beers kind of grew. Thought I might have a little dabble with some home brewing, we managed to persuade our pub company that brewing on site would be a good thing, and they were prepared to invest some money and build a bit of an extension, and we're going to build a little brew house onto the side of the pub, have beers brewed on site.
So microbrewery.
Yeah. In order to expand my knowledge, I did a brewing course up in Sunderland, a place called Brew Lab. Where, at the time, I guess this was, I think it would have been about 2009, 2010, something like that. I did
in the depths of the financial crisis. Great timing.
Yeah, do you know what? Our business was booming. It was great.
Everyone was unemployed. All they could do was drink.
Yeah. So I did a brewing course up in Sunderland at Brew Lab. It was great. At the time, anybody in the brewing world had been there and done
that was
this
the
course.
place to...
And it was recommended by a lot of people. So I attended that. It was great. Came back full of knowledge, and then we kind of set about writing a business plan to open a brewery at the pub, and we'd agreed because the the pub was tied, we had to agree an amount of beer that we could sell free of tie over the bar. Then anything else we would sell out to other pubs. So everything was fine, and then we got the planning permission through eventually to have the work done, and we're all ready to sign. And the pub co decided to move the goalposts, and they decided that we would only be allowed to sell half of the amount that we'd agreed free of tie over the bar, but they still wanted to charge us an insane rent on the property, and so we told them where to shove it, and we said that we'll do it on our own. We don't need you. We'll do it on our own.
Is Shove It one of the names of your beers, no?
And,
They're quite exotic, some of them.
yeah, we set about looking for a premises to set up on our own, these units were coming up, so we thought we'd best see if we've got any money in order to fill it with some brewing equipment, which we didn't really, but we had a little scratch around back of the sofa and all that, and yeah, we had a little bit. So we managed to scrape together enough to buy the sort of the best kit for the least amount of money that we could get.
So if somebody had a great idea to do that, what would be the typical figure that you'd be looking at just for the kit alone?
For the kit, I think
ballpark figure.
I don't know nowadays, but I think at the time it cost us about 80 grand, something like that.
Yeah,
it's a fair bit of money.
We had to borrow some. We maxed out some credit cards.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we funded it ourselves and used all our savings. It was a risk.
Sure, yeah.
We thought it was almost taken. So we just started with sort of just the 2 fermenters over here, and just had a go. We brewed some test brews to try in the pub. So we agreed. We managed to sort of different agreement with the pub where we could sell some of our beer free of tie over the bar without them building a brewery. Again, it cost us an insane amount of money in rent increase. It was what we wanted to do. We had a really good pub business. We wanted to keep it, and we wanted to sort of branch out into brewing. So we gave it a go. So we did the first couple of brews, did a couple of test brews. I absolutely hated them. Thought they were awful.
What was wrong with them?
You just wouldn't want to drink it. Just terrible. Yeah, just
not good.
Rubbish beer.
Have you always been a real ale drinker?
Pretty much, yeah.
So you had a pretty good idea of what you wanted from a brew?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I like pale, hop-forward beers, as you might be able to tell.
Yeah. How long does it take you to make a beer, start to finish?
Start to finish, the actual brew day is probably 6 hours. In terms of fermentation and stuff, then for a cask beer, it ferments for about a week. Then it goes into cask, and so it's going to condition for like a couple of weeks before we'd let it out. So about 3 weeks.
What's the kind of life cycle for a new product? You wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, you think, I know, I'm going to make a beer that tastes like X. From that to deciding what the ingredients are, and et cetera, and bringing that to fruition.
I think that would depend on whether or not I was asleep in the first place. Which I don't really tend to do much of. I'm always awake, as Jill would tell you. I do feel like I'm somewhat consumed by beery ideas all the time. But it could be that I'll just have an idea overnight and get the next morning, go and brew it. Why not?
Sure.
If we've got things in for it, then let's do it.
So when you decided that the first beer that you made was not up to scratch,
yeah,
had you something in mind that you knew you wanted it to taste like?
Yeah.
Was the beer already around that you thought, I want to brew something similar to this? Or was it something that was completely in your imagination?
I guess it was more sort of just the combinations of the ingredients that you use in and knowing how it should come out or what it should taste like, and it didn't. All the customers that tried it, they were all really nice. They were like, "Oh, it's amazing," but I think you can be sort of quite. You can easily be blinded by sort of just being familiar to a person or and wanting to like it.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of for us. I think we're quite good at being honest about the beers that we're brewing, and so am I absolutely happy with everything we make? No, I'm not. I'm not always tweaking everything all the time. Once we get a beer to a place where that we both feel we're happy with, then that's it. There's no tinkering around. But if something can be improved, we'll try and improve it.
So what are the levers that you can pull to change the nature of a beer? Is it the?
Oh, where do we start?
There must be fundamentals.
Yeah.
So I just have to remind the listeners that if you can hear a noise at the moment, do you want to explain what that is? Because we're in the brewery.
So that's just the fan on the glycol chiller. It's just kicking in to chill down fermenting beer that's below us.
Thank you. Sorry, we interrupted you. So there's certain levers that you can pull.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got your 4 main ingredients in a beer. So you've got the water, you've got malt, you've got the hops, you've got the yeast. So it's those 4 things.
So how do you mess around with the yeast?
There are so many different yeast varieties, yeast strains rather.
And that makes a big difference to the end result.
Huge. So the yeast strain can contribute up to about 95% of the flavour profile.
Wow.
In any beer. So your yeast selection is really crucial to
do you use one yeast for all of your different beers, or do you use different ones for different ones?
Different yeast for different beers. Yeah.
What about the water? Does that make any difference?
Yeah, huge.
So what sort of water do you use?
So
Clear.
The water is
yeah.
So it's mains water, but we use different treatments for different brews.
So what do you do to it?
So we just add various different salts and things to them. So like for something like electric Land Lady, we'll essentially replicate the water profile in Burton-on-Trent in whenever it was when they started brewing IPAs.
Really?
And yeah. So you get your sort of classic IPA bitter water profile. So we'll replicate that as close to as we can.
So do you filter it to get all the chlorine out?
No. We just we have various additions that we make.
And do you consult a chemist to help you do that? Or?
Yeah, so there's a company in Nottingham called Murphy and Son. So we periodically send them a water sample, and they analyse it and come back with the additions for us. So it saves me working it all out. It's quite easy. I did when I was home brewing. I kind of got my calculator and pen and paper, and I used to work it out for myself. And then when we did start getting the Murphy's test results, I was pretty close actually. I wasn't far out. Yeah. So
it's really weird because if you would have asked me, I would have thought number one, the hops is going to make the type of hops would make the fundamental difference.
Yeah.
But you're saying yeast can make up to 95% of the difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I went to a brewery tour in Keswick, and one of their things is that their water up there is obviously very pure, so they don't mess around with their water. They just take it as it comes. So I had no idea that you could alter the characteristics of water.
Yeah, this is it. When you look at sort of classic beer styles and the areas that they're brewed in, they brew them in those areas because the water profile was right for that style of beer. So when you look at IPAs being brewed in Burton-on-Trent in the sort of Spice Wars and all that kind of time there. And London Porters, you know, they're brewed in London because of the water profile. Lager in Scotland because they have the right sort of water profile for brewing, you know, Tennants and whatnot. So different areas have their own water profiles, and they work for the styles of beer that are local to those areas.
I'm a bit of a numbskull when it comes to hops. I presumed that nearly all the hops in English beers came from Kent. That's not the case, obviously.
No. So whilst we do use English hops here, we use hops from Kent and Worcester. But most of what we use are from America. We use a lot of American hops. They have just much bigger flavour and aroma profiles.
Is it more expensive to import it from America?
Yeah.
So, hence the price of the beer.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So there's the yeast, the water, the hops. What haven't we done? Malt. So how can you vary? Well, presumably the amount of malt that you put in.
Yeah. So the amounts essentially make up the strength of the beer. The more malt you use, the more
alcohol,
sugars you get. The more. But obviously there are so many different varieties of malt as well. Different levels of roasting. Again, you've got sort of a beer there. You've got so Electric Landlady will use Golden Promise, which is like a pale ale malt.
I'll just interrupt you there for a sec for listeners. The Electric Landlady is not actually a person; it's a beer that we're referring to here. Is it?
Could argue it's a person as well. So Jill was the Electric Landlady in our pub.
That's where it comes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's either that or it's the Jimi Hendrix album. The first test press was misprinted, and rather than Electric Ladyland, it said Electric Landlady.
Well, funny enough, I was going to ask you about that because it only occurred to me when I was driving around the other day thinking about this. I thought, I wonder if there's an homage to Jimi Hendrix in there.
Yeah.
So, are you a Hendrix fan, or?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You got any thoughts for other homages with your beers?
Well, I mean,
I gave it some thought.
Yeah, so
God, here we go.
So obviously, Electric Landlady is the obvious one, and then also Kirsty McCall for the same reason. The misprint on the test press, she did an album called Electric Landlady.
Right.
The Acoustic Landlady is obviously the sort of unplugged version of the electric.
Yeah.
There's also a great band, sort of mad jazz band called Acoustic Ladyland, who are really good. You get a chance to listen to them. And like here we've got Undertow, which is
Genesis track.
Oh, didn't know Genesis.
Yeah.
There's a band called Tool, sort of 90s band called Tool. Great.
Run one by Ale Along the Watchtower.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No.
or if you ever go for an ultra cold beer, Voodoo Chilled. He's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're on the topic of the names, I guess we ought to, whilst we're on that topic, tell the listeners what's in front of us at the moment. So we've got Acoustic Landlady and Electric Landlady, Spanish Inquisition, and Undertow. So do you want to talk to us about those?
Yeah, sure. So I guess the starting point for everything is always Electric Landlady. I think it was something like the second or third brew that are brewed here on this kit. It was the first beer that I was relatively happy with.
Well, that's ironic because it's gone on to win.
It's undergone several changes since then.
Really? Ah, okay.
So the it is funny. I was looking through some old beer recipes a few weeks ago, and I found the first brew of it, and it's just I don't know what I was thinking. Why would you do that? It was insane. But yeah, again, it's just sort of, developed over the years. It makes sense now, and it is sort of. I think it drinks well. It's a nice beer.
Won't get an argument from me. And
Well, I'm not a real ale buff, as both of our listeners know, and I'm a lager man, but I actually really like Electric Landlady. So
Camera,
it's a beer for everyone.
Camera agrees with you because they made it 2023 champion beer of Britain.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise that one. I was actually so we were down at the Great British Beer Festival, and we could hear on the stage they were doing some awards. So we went over. There was a little group of us, and they started calling out the awards. And I was actually chatting to Will from Grain Store Brewery at the time, and they called out. They said, "Oh, the next one is the Premium Pale Ale," and he said, "Oh, you in this one?" Yeah, we've got the Electric Landlady, but he said, "Oh, it's the toughest one to win. The pale ales are always tricky." Yeah, so, we won
Popular
thing. And they called out the bronze, nothing. They called out the silver, and I thought, no, that's us done for this year. And then they called us out as winners, so it was just like, yeah, mad.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's a huge achievement. And so everybody's going to be listening to think, where can I go and taste that beer? So which pubs sell Electric Landlady?
Locally, I guess the King's Head in Stamford are a really good customer of ours. They take a lot of our beers. So generally, I think they tend to have about maybe 3 or 4 of our beers on at a time, different beers.
That's good.
Sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less.
Just up the road, the Railway Inn.
The Railway in Ketton, they often take beer from us. They have 4 ampoules and they rotate them a lot. So it may be that you're going one night and there won't be any of ours. The next night there will be.
Sure, yeah.
But they have stuff from all over. They do a tremendous job down there, Jamie and Louie. Yeah, great pub. Love that place.
Yeah,
I think if we lived
They were our first victims, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. And we're going to go back and see them shortly.
Yeah.
For another visit.
Don't call me shortly.
Yeah, so I love that pub so much. It's got just such a great feel, and like we'd love to live in Ketton just for ease of getting to and from work, if nothing else. But I think we'd spend too much time in the pub.
Well, I don't think so. Judging by your results, you're not spending too much time in the pub. So that's 2 pubs that you can get it.
So again in Stamford, the Toby Norris, they take a fair amount of beer from us. The Green Man also have Landlady on permanently. The Coach House Inn at Luffenham, they have Landlady as well. In Oakham, Jinkies, they usually take it from us, as well as the Lord Nelson. They often take our beers as well.
So it's quite you've got a fairly decent choice in the local area. You wanna go and taste the beer?
Locally we
So having won a national award, are you going to have any trouble meeting demand? Because I guess it's going to come to the attention of people around the country rather than just locally.
Yeah, sure. But we brew that beer every week anyway. It's sort of it's popular locally. We don't do a huge amount outside of kind of East Midlands. We'll basically drive about an hour or so for deliveries. That's it. So we'll do like Nottingham, Leicester, Derby, that kind of bit. Like around Grantham, we do a few pubs in Grantham.
You must deliver at night if you can get to Nottingham in an hour.
No, that's all right. It's about 45 minutes, Nottingham.
You must know a route that I don't.
So and obviously that's selling in a tin now. So I've spotted Acoustic Landlady in the grain store. They've got a fridge in there that they're stocking.
Yes, yeah. So having the beer in cans is good for getting it out further across the country and stuff, various bottle shops and whatnot. And just people drinking at home, which I think they do. more and more now, rather than going out to pubs. It's a thing. So yeah.
And so the other ones we've got in front of us is Undertow, which I'm currently drinking and really enjoying. I have to say that it's similar. I don't know if this is rubbish. I was lucky enough to go up to New Hampshire last year, and they were selling some amazing pale ales up there. And that reminds me of a beer that I had there. And they called it double, is it double hopping or double something that they do to the beer?
Double dry hops, was it?
Yeah, something like that. And it reminds me of something like that I had up there.
Yeah, so it's we use a New England yeast strain for that one.
There you go.
So yeah, we hop that with some New Zealand hops, Sauvignon Blanc, Nelson Sauvin from New Zealand, which has some sort of similarities to Sauvignon Blanc grape, and then it's dry hopped with Citra. It's again, we've had a bit of success with that. We won last year. Where are we now? 24. So in 22, we won the SIBA, which is the Society of Independent Brewers. We won the SIBA East Gold for the keg pale ales with that, and then it won it was the overall winner of the keg competition as well. Then, so it went on to the national finals, and we picked up a silver nationally, which was pretty good.
Yeah. And that's 4.9.
That's 4.8.
4.8.
And then at the recent SIBA cake competition, which was in January, we won gold again. So that's back in the national finals in March.
Wow, that's impressive. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And so the two I haven't tried is the acoustic landlady.
Yeah.
So tell us about that one.
So acoustic landlady is like the baby version of the electric landlady. So it's only 3.4%. Wow. So super low ABV, really sessionable. But we use the same amount of hop in, so you get lots of those nice big mosaic aromas and flavours. So it drinks much bigger than its small ABV. You want to try some?
Yeah, because I'm just finishing the electric landlady. So
put a tiny little splosh in there, Justin, so I can have a sip. So when did you start that one? How long ago?
So we started brewing that. I think it would have been about 18 months ago or so.
So presumably you've not had the opportunity to put that in for any awards yet.
So that went in the SIBA keg competition in January last month, and won gold, won its category.
Wow!
So we're sitting in the what do you call it? The brewery tap area.
Up on the mezzanine. Yeah,
and we're surrounded by awards and certificates. These are bigger premises. Just to put all on the walls, to be honest. The other thing people probably definitely won't know, because this is a podcast, not a video cast. This whole premises is about the size of a decent-sized triple garage, quadruple garage, maybe. And all of this happens from here, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think we can cram it a bit more before we need to have a new building. Yeah, we have got a second unit over the road, but there's no brewing goes on in there.
Wow.
So that was the first showing for the acoustic landlady, and it won its competition. So the category is I think it's session pale ales up to 4.4%. So at 3.4, it's kind of still punching above its weight, up against much stronger beers where you can obviously get more body, more flavour and stuff.
Yeah. That's quite impressive.
So
there's a slightly different taste, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not hugely different. I'd say the electric landlady is slightly sweeter to my taste.
I guess it's more fuller bodied as well, and we use a different yeast strain as well in the acoustic landlady. So we use it's a co-ferment actually. We use a couple of different yeast strains in that one.
I was surprised when I saw on the side of the can that electric landlady is 5%. It doesn't taste like a 5% beer. You could get caught out a little bit with electric lager because it tastes
often,
like a much easier beer than it is.
Yeah. We often get told it's dangerous.
So the other one we got is the Spanish Inquisition. Well, first of all, how did you get the name?
So
it's not Monty Python.
It's the obvious Monty Python.
Did nobody want it?
Yes. So whilst I'm a big fan of kind of pale hop forward beers, I think one of the things I enjoy drinking most is the kind of more roasty flavours with tons of hops as well. So red IPAs, black IPAs, that stuff. I'm a really big fan. Anything with rye in it. This is it's a red IPA. So you've got some darker malts in there.
Sure.
And then we've got some American hops. Again, we've got some Amarillo and Mosaic. So the Mosaic is the same variety we use in the Landladies.
That is delicious.
It's good, isn't it?
That is really good.
So this is this again when we entered that into the SIBA can and bottle competition, and that won gold in the specialty IPA category.
What's the strength on that?
That one's 5.4.
There's a flavour in there that I can recognise that I can't put my finger on.
So for me, I always think it's got kind of a burnt orange, kind of bit of flavour and aroma. Just a hint of kind of bit of chocolatey malt in there. The Amarillo hops, you get quite orangey flavours and aromas from those.
It tastes to me that, say, as generally a lager drinker, that particular one isn't to my taste, but it tastes to me a little bit like creme brulee, where you've burnt the caramel.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah, that's
it's got that kind of slightly bitter nip to it.
Nice. If I was gonna drink anyone in a pub in the winter, I'd be drinking that. In the summer, I'd be drinking either the acoustic or the electric Landlady.
Yeah, I have to say that both the Landladies are really good, and that's coming from somebody that doesn't usually drink real ale. I am Peroni man, I'm afraid. So
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
I really like the Undertow as well, but crikey, too much to choose from. So is that your full? That's all of the beers you've currently got.
No.
More.
That's yeah. So this is just some of the stuff we've got in can at the moment.
Okay.
So we've got another couple of beers in can at the moment. We've got a beer called 50 Foot Queenie. I don't know if anyone's a PJ Harvey fan. No.
Sorry, that's
okay.
Whoosh.
So that's a 7.5% double IPA with some cryo hops in there. So it's got some cryo, Talus, and Idaho 7. So you get a bit of almost like coconutty sort of flavour and aroma from the Talus. Then we've got one called There Goes the Charabang, Stranglers, no, Peaches. Yeah.
I had a look the other day, and I didn't really follow that one, but now I get it. Yeah.
So that's a peach goza. So it's sour and salty, and then we've got loads of peaches in there as well.
There's a friend of mine in Stanford who will definitely give that a try. He's a massive Stranglers fan. that wouldn't be lost on him, even if it was on me.
It's one of those. It's a bit of a. It's a Marmite beer because it's sour and salty, and obviously you get the kind of the fruitiness in there as well. But it's not one for everybody. A lot of people screw their face up, and understandably so. It's a summer beer. It's on a baking hot day. And,
yeah.
And I guess refreshing. That's the joy of having your own brewery. You don't have to produce a beer that is going to appeal to the masses. You can produce a beer that will be appreciated by maybe a select audience, if you like.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I only ever brew beers that I want to drink. That's it. That's so. If I can't drink it, then I don't see why anyone else should have to.
It's a winning formula, obviously. So why change it?
Yeah.
So do you have any lagers? Do you intend to have any lagers?
Yeah, it's something I'm really keen to do, actually. And we would. So we've just we did a collaboration brew a few weeks ago with Leon Sea Brewery, and it's a West Coast style IPA, but with so it's in cask and it's in keg, and the keg version we've injected it with nitro, so it's a nitro IPA. So you get that kind of smooth flow pour. If you go into the pub, get a pint of Caffrey's or John Smith Smooth kind of thing, that kind of stuff, Guinness. That kind of that nitro pour. So we've done that with this kind of big punchy American hopped IPA, which it's great.
Interesting.
And I've been wanting to brew a nitro IPA for quite some time, but I didn't want to do it here on my own in case it went wrong and I had to take the blame. I thought if we do it as a collaboration brew, then we can blame somebody else if it doesn't quite turn out right. We've got some of that available now actually, so that's been going down quite well. I'm quite a fan of the nitro pour. Round Corner Brewery do an amazing nitro stout. It's really good. I was drinking it just a few weeks ago, and
they tend to slip down quite easy, don't they?
Yeah. And I was quite a big fan in the 90s of Carlin Premier. I don't know if you ever had it. So it was a nitro lager.
I vaguely remember it.
Yeah, it was great. I used to love it. They used to sell it in the Lord Burley in Stamford. It was brilliant. And I don't think they make it anymore. Anyway, so I'd love to do a nitro lager.
At the moment, what is your output? What were you able to produce per week, month, year, whatever is the easiest metric?
So we've got 5 fermenters. So mostly we tend to brew like a couple of times a week, maybe 2, possibly 3 times a week. The beer, certainly for the cask beers, they're in fermenter for kind of 8-9 days, something like that. Any keg beers are in for longer. They're in for 2-3 weeks at a time. So, for instance, we've just done some canning, so we had these 3 fermenters tied up for a few weeks, so we could only use those 2. So it's always kind of just juggling the fermenters around. So, you're emptying one, cleaning it, fill it the next day, kind of thing. We tend to be a couple of times a week, 2 to 3 times a week.
I just thought of something else I was going to ask you earlier. If you tasted a beer, any beer, do you think you could replicate that simply from the taste?
I don't know if I've ever really tried, but yeah, I'd give it a good go.
It'd be a good challenge to do with brewers, wouldn't it? Like, here's the beer, go away and make it, and see who gets closest to it.
But I mean, you say that the type of hop has a big difference. The type of water, there are like you say, there are so many variables, and you say 95% of the flavour comes from the yeast.
It can do, yeah.
When you change, I'm assuming that the tanks are not dedicated to a particular brew. So if you go from making Electric Landlady to Spanish Inquisition, for example, and you use the same vessel to do the two, you'll probably tell me that's nonsense in a minute, but presumably you then have to change the yeast as well. How do you completely clean the vessel so that there's no residue at all of the previous brew?
So, firstly, for things like Electric Landlady, it has its own fermenter that nothing else goes in, because I'm a bit crazy, and like when we brew Acoustic Landlady, it always goes in the same fermenter, and Undertow I'll allow it to go into 1 or 2 fermenters.
You have your favourite fermenters, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And why not? And why not?
And I'm just
But do they know that they're your favourite?
I tell them all they're my favourite. I'm just I think I'm incredibly anal and
Or superstitious.
No, not superstitious. I like things done in a certain way, and it's just it's kind of just so, and it sort of works, I think. But yeah, in terms of the cleaning, we use caustic solution, and it's like it just it kills anything and everything, and then sort of rinse, and then we use a paracetic acid sterilizer, and it's just
so do you
belt and braces.
recover the yeast from a brew when you empty it and then reuse it?
We don't. So we use a fresh pitch every time, just because we're looking for consistency. And whilst it could save us quite a lot of money to repitch yeast and stuff, we have done it a couple of times, but it's not something we really do. Just because we're not. Although we always brew electric landlady in the same fermenter, from that fermenter we can't. So we can only top crop. We can't bottom crop the yeast from that one. So yeah, I think just in terms of consistency and hitting that profile time after time after time, we do a fresh pitch of yeast every time. We've got a microscope, but we don't have a full-on lab. So I think if we had better lab equipment, we'd probably do much more yeast cropping, and we'd keep a proper eye on it and sort of look after it and stuff. But until that happens, we just do a fresh pitch.
So where does the yeast come from? Excuse my ignorance, but where does it?
That's so we use a dried yeast. So there's several suppliers. We use a few different types, a few different strains. So we get them from various brewing suppliers. They come in just packs of dried yeast. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're obviously massively successful now. You're going to get more and more pubs wanting to sell your beers.
I hope so.
So have you got like some sort of strategic plan for expansion?
In a word, no. One of the things that we're sort of trying to do at the minute, Jill's been trying to pin me down to kind of sit down and do a proper kind of business plan for the next 5 years, because we've not done it for a while. It's really tough at the minute. Although we're brewing beer and selling it. Could we be selling more? Yes. Could we sell it quicker? Yes. And we need to. It's really expensive. Isn't it? It's an expensive business to run. There's not a lot of profit in it. We don't really make any money. At some point, we have to start making some money. And so
presumably expansion is the way to do that. To have another brewery somewhere.
Well, I mean, yes and no. It would mean sort of taking on staff. Currently, there's just the two of us. We don't have any staff, so it would mean taking on staff, and so then actually you need to be expanding quite a lot more, and then selling it. And it's just I don't know. It's tough. I don't really know. I don't really know the answer to that at the minute. To be honest, just the energy costs have been an absolute killer for us over the last year or two. It's just crippling. And just to get through it, there's so many breweries closing down. There's been I don't know the exact figure, but like a couple of hundred or so in the last year. They're going all the time. It's really, really tough. To still be here, it's good. Yeah.
So how do you market yourselves? How do you attract customers?
So again, I think the best marketing is always word of mouth, isn't it? And people just people kind of approach us. We don't really sell ourselves a lot to other pubs. I think both Jill and I would say that we're not the best at sales. And we just do something good and they'll come to you, and kind of hope that happens. But
Camera presumably are promoting you.
I think the camera awards are good at sort of getting you seen by people and stuff, and again with Zebra as well. The Zebra awards are really good at kind of just putting you on the map of certain people.
The tinned offering. Is that something that you produce yourselves, or and sell out to shops, or?
So we they're brewed here. So we use a mobile canner. So they come up in a van. They wheel out a canning machine. They hook it up to the fermenter. Just bang it out. It's great. So they're all you'll see they're printed cans. So the same people they print the cans. So they're printed in Cambridge, I think. So it's not far away.
Has that because it was a live ale? So presumably the shelf life on that is less than a conventional tinned beer.
Yeah.
So you can't sell that to a supermarket. That's got to be sold to.
We wouldn't sell it to a supermarket anyway.
No.
Yeah.
So what's the shelf life on one of those?
We put 9 months on them, I think.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And you only sell it through pubs as something that they would sell over the bar.
Yeah, like pubs, bottle shops. We sell direct online sales through the web shop and whatnot. And then when we do the pop-up tap rooms, obviously we have people come up, have a couple of beers, walk away with some cans and a t-shirt.
So let's finish on that. An advertisement for your pop-up tap room. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so we started doing them last summer. So once a month, and sometimes a little bit more. But once a month we open up the brewery to the public for a weekend, and so we'll do from like 12 till 6. We set up a bar downstairs, and we have a couple of hand pulls for the cask beers. Then we have 4 keg beers. We try. We had one last weekend. So we had all our kind of recent award winners on there. So we had a cherry sour, electric landlady, acoustic landlady, and so something else.
Undertow.
We put those on 4 keg beers, couple of cask beers. We usually we didn't this time actually because it sort of slipped our mind, but June's farm in Whitwell.
Yep.
So I think she was just pulling away as you arrived.
Right. Same as their pies.
Yes. June's pigs eats our spent malt from the brewing. So she takes our spent malt, she feeds it to the pigs. So usually we have some of her pork pies and sausage rolls available on the bar as well. So
would that be cheaper than going to a pub? Coming here,
I don't know. Probably not.
What's a pint of landlady going to cost me in here?
$4.50.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable for any pint or any pub.
Do I get a reduction for being in camera?
No, it's reduced to everybody. $4.50.
Just joking.
Discounts for all.
Are they queuing up the lane, or?
It's all right. No, it's all right. Yeah, it's a nice atmosphere. We because it's sort of, middle of February. We were like, how's it going to be? But it was good. It's good. We had a good turnout. Kind of filled up. Obviously, we've got the seating upstairs at the Mo. So last summer, all the seating was outside. And then we wanted to do something around Christmas time. So we're like, how can we find some seating indoors? So we had to clear the mezzanine. We've got office up beer with lots of different types of packaging, various sizes of boxes on pallets and stuff. And so we have a second unit over the road, so we've moved most of it over there, tried to clear some space and put some seating upstairs on the mezzanine. It was great. We had a really busy sort of just one day tap at Christmas. Worked really well with the upstairs seating, so we did that again last week. It was good, and I think for the next sort of couple of months we'll continue with the indoor seating, and the minute the sun comes out, we'll move the tables out.
So where will people find out that information when your next one is?
We'll put stuff out on like Instagram, Facebook, the usual social medias.
Bakers Dozen on Facebook.
Took me the wrong half of the partnership with the sounds of it.
And the website is
that's bakersdozenbrewing.co.uk.
So that's probably the best place to go to find out.
Yeah, so there's a page on the website with all details of any events.
And you're planning one
stuff.
in March?
We've got one in March, which is on the 16th and 17th of March, and I think we're also going to do one Easter weekend, the 30th and 31st.
There you go.
Double tap room month.
I would highly recommend that you come along if you like good beer.
Absolutely.
I'd recommend that you come along and try it.
And even if you're not a kind of a real ale buff,
Yeah.
there is something for everybody, because I've drunk 3 of these today, which you can probably tell from.
That's been great. It's been really, really interesting. It's been a real education this afternoon. I've learned a lot.
That's been really interesting.
And we wish you all the success for the future, and hope you can make some serious money out of it as well.
Voodoo Chilled goes national.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
So that's a wrap, and thank you for listening to our latest pub natter. If you visit timothyives.com/pub natter, you will find photos, links, and more information about each episode. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and please subscribe to ensure you don't miss a pub or one of our amazing guests. The Pub Natter theme tune is by Tom Arnold. That was a Pub Natter broadcast.